64 points. I just want you to sit with that number for a second. 64. The 33.
It doesn't seem real.
No. I mean, if you walked past a TV screen at a sports bar and just glanced at the bottom ticker, you'd think you were looking at a college basketball score.
At halftime, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
A slow night in the ACC or something. Yeah. But no. We were talking about the National Football League Season 84, Week 8.
And this wasn't just a win for the Arizona Cardinals.
No, they didn't just beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They dismantled them. They took the idea of a football game and just turned it into a track meet.
Dismantled might actually be putting it lightly.
I think so. Our source material for this deep dive, the full breakdown from Red Sea Radio, calls it an absolute explosion.
A fireworks show.
The fireworks show. But honestly, looking at the data sheets we have in front of us, fireworks feels like a massive understatement.
Oh, for sure.
Fireworks end in a few minutes. This was a 3-hour supernova that just kept burning.
It really was. And look, we have to contextualize this. In the modern NFL, putting up a 60-burger, scoring 60-plus points, that's incredibly rare.
It's a statistical anomaly.
It is. And for that to happen, you need, like, a perfect storm. You need insane offensive efficiency. You need defensive opportunism.
And you probably need the other team to just completely forget how to play football for a while.
Yeah, that helps too.
And that's exactly what we're doing today. We aren't just here to ooh and ah at the scoreboard, although, I mean, it is tempting.
Very tempting.
Our mission is to really unpack the mechanics of this blowout based on the Red Sea Radio analysis. How does a team actually generate 64 points in 60 minutes? Was this just a fluke?
Or is it sustainable? That's the million-dollar question. Yeah. Because when you look under the hood of this game, this wasn't just luck.
Right.
We're looking at 3 specific pillars that held this whole thing up. First, you've got Jack Weber playing what might be the best game of his life.
Oh, absolutely.
Then you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. putting up numbers that they look like they belong in a video game on rookie difficulty.
And the third pillar?
The defense.
Uh-huh.
Which, strangely enough, was scoring almost as often as a typical offense does.
That's the part that really blew my mind reading through the report. You don't get to 64 points just by having a good quarterback.
No way.
You need the ball back.
What?
A lot. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have to start with this. This offensive avalanche. The source calls it the numbers game, and I think that's perfect.
Let's dive in.
The thing that jumped out at me immediately from the source text wasn't the final total. It was the pacing.
The consistency.
Exactly. You know how usually when a team scores a ton, it's because they had one crazy quarter.
Right. They get like 28 points in the second quarter off 2 fumbles and a short field, and then nothing.
Yeah, it's feast or famine. This wasn't that. This was just relentless. It was steady.
It was methodical destruction. If you look at the scoring breakdown from Red Sea Radio, it's a steady climb. 10 points in the first quarter.
Right there?
Then 13 in the second. So you're sitting at 23 points at halftime. Now, in most NFL games, 23 points can be a winning score for the entire game.
And they were just warming up?
They were. They came out of the locker room and actually accelerated. 21 points in the third quarter.
Wow.
And another 20 in the fourth. That's what separates a good win from a historic blowout. They actually got better as the game went on. 41 points in the second half alone.
That speaks to a mindset, doesn't it? I feel like we see so many teams get a 14-point lead and just go into a shell.
Oh, all the time.
They run the ball, try to drain the clock, and the offense just stalls out. The Cardinals apparently kept the throttle pinned to the floor.
They did, and the yardage backs that up. The data shows 500 total offensive yards.
Half a grand.
But the split of those yards is what tells you the real story, the strategy.
Break that down for us, because usually in a blowout, you see a lot of rushing yards late.
Exactly. But here, of those 500 yards, 420 of them came through the air.
Whoa.
Only 80 were on the ground.
So, a more than 5-to-1 ratio favoring the pass. That is wild.
Which is incredibly aggressive. Usually when you're up big, that ratio flips. You're just running out the clock to go home.
Sure.
This 420 to 80 split tells me they had a pass-first mentality for almost the entire 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't interested in establishing the run. The pass was the offense.
But here's the thing. You pass the ball that much, you're dropping back constantly. That exposes your quarterback. You're going to get hit. You're going to take sacks.
Typically, yes. That's the risk you run.
But there is one statistic tucked away in the source material that I think makes all of those 420 yards possible. It might be the most impressive number on the entire sheet.
I know exactly which one you're looking at.
0.
0 sacks allowed.
It's incredible to me. Think about that. The offensive line has to hold their blocks for 3, 4, maybe 5 seconds, play after play, while these deep routes develop. And they didn't let a single Steelers defender touch him.
It's a clinic in protection. And for the listener, this is the why behind the what. You asked how they scored 41 in the second half. It's because they had no negative plays. Sacks are drive killers.
Explain that concept, drive killers, for someone who might not follow the analytics that closely.
Well, think about the rhythm of an offense. You want to be ahead of the chains. 1st and 10 becomes 2nd and 4. That opens up your whole playbook.
Right, you can do anything.
But a sack, it's a disaster. Suddenly it's 2nd and 18. Now the defense knows you have to pass. They can just pin their ears back and come after you.
You're predictable.
Totally. By allowing 0 sacks, the Cardinals were always dictating terms. They're never digging themselves out a hole. It let the fireworks happen because the fuse never got wet.
So the stage is set, the line is a brick wall, the play calling is aggressive. Now we have to talk about the conductor of this orchestra, Jack Weber.
QB1 mode, as the source calls it.
This stat line is just absurd. 420 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 149.3.
That rating is astronomical.
For those who aren't glued to the stat sheet, give us some context. What does a 149.3 rating actually mean?
So a perfect passer rating, the highest you can mathematically get, is 158.3. It's a complex formula, but basically Weber was knocking on the door of perfection.
He was essentially flawless.
Right, pretty much.
Yeah.
And look, the hardest thing to do in football is to combine volume with efficiency.
Right, you usually get one or the other.
Exactly. You get a gunslinger who throws for 400 yards but also throws 2 picks and completes 50% of his passes. Or you get a game manager who's super efficient but only throws for, like, 180 yards.
Weber gave them both?
He did. He completed 66% of his passes, a solid number, while averaging huge yardage per throw. That is the holy grail.
And he did it while spreading the ball around, which we'll get to. But I have to highlight the dual threat moment mentioned in the report.
Oh, yeah?
Because it wasn't just his arm. The source mentions he had 34 rushing yards, but specifically a 33-yard burst.
That's the dagger right there.
I love that detail. I mean, visualize it. You're a Pittsburgh defensive back. You've been chasing receivers all day. You're exhausted. You finally cover everyone. You think, okay, we got him trapped.
We finally got to stop.
And then, boom, he tucks it and rips off a 33-yard run.
It's demoralizing.
Yeah.
It absolutely breaks the spirit of a defense. It's psychological warfare at that point. You do everything right in coverage, and he just beats you with his legs. You feel helpless.
And there's an interesting narrative note here, too. The report mentions that Weber was bouncing back from a rough stretch.
Which adds a whole other layer to this.
It does. This wasn't just business as usual. This was a redemption game.
And that narrative matters for the locker room. If your quarterback is in a slump, everyone feels it. There's a tension. For him to come out and not just play okay, but to have a career-best game, that shows immense mental toughness.
It resets the baseline.
It does.
Yeah.
It resets what Jack Weber can be in season 84. It tells a team, I'm back and I can carry us.
So Weber is dealing. But even the best quarterback needs someone to catch the ball. And oh boy, did he have someone.
He certainly did.
Let's talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. The source calls him a monster and untouchable.
And the math backs that up. Let's just look at the efficiency. He had 6 catches.
Okay, a solid day.
A respectable workload, sure. But look at the yardage. 176 yards.
Wait, hold on. Let me do that math. 176 divided by 6. That's nearly 30 yards per catch.
It's insane efficiency. In the NFL, averaging 12 or 13 yards per catch is good. Averaging 30. That means every time he touched the ball, he was flipping the entire field. He wasn't catching little 5-yard hitches.
He was winning deep over the top.
Consistently. And 3 touchdowns.
On 6 catches.
3 trips to the end zone on 6 touches. That's just dominance. The source notes a long catch of 66 yards, so he was absolutely winning vertically.
It's that alpha receiver energy. When you have a guy who can score 3 times on 6 catches, the defense just panics. They start overcompensating. But what I liked is that Red Sea Radio emphasized that Weber didn't just lock onto him.
No, he played like a seasoned vet. He used everyone.
And that's what makes an offense truly dangerous, isn't it?
It is. If you only have Harrison Jr., the defense can just double-team him, put a safety over the top. But look at the supporting cast. Hunter Thomas had 89 yards.
That's a WR1 day for a lot of teams.
Exactly. And Tommy Davis had 66 yards and a touchdown. The source also mentions contributions from McBride, Pacheco, and Betch.
So when the defense rolled coverage to stop Harrison Jr.,
Weber didn't force it. He just pivoted and found the open guy.
It's pick your poison for the defense. Now, we touched on the run game, the 80 yards total. The source mentions Pacheco and Benson combining for just 35 yards. Not exactly a ground and pound day.
No, it wasn't dominant. But the key phrase the source used is that it kept the defense honest.
What does that mean in practice, keeping them honest?
It just means you run the ball enough so the linebackers have to respect it. If you abandon the run completely, those linebackers just drop deep into coverage and clutter everything up.
Got it.
So even those 35 yards, plus Weber scrambling, were enough to make the linebackers hesitate for a split second. And that split second is all Marvin Harrison Jr. needs.
Okay, so the offense was a machine. 500 yards, 0 sacks. But you hinted at this earlier, and I think this is where the game went from a win to a historic beatdown.
Right.
You can't score 64 points without the defense doing something special.
The source material uses the phrase opportunistic chaos. And chaos is the right word.
Because if the offense is scoring, the other team gets the ball back. So how did Arizona get the ball back so many times?
Turnovers. The defense forced 4 turnovers.
4. That's massive. That's 4 extra possessions for an offense that was already on fire.
But it wasn't just about getting possessions back. The defense decided to cut out the middleman and score the points themselves. This is the pick 6 party from the report.
I love this part. Talk about momentum swings. First, we've got Jack Jones. Snags an interception, takes it 27 yards to the house.
Gets the crowd roaring.
But then we have the showstopper.
Zaw Frazier.
Zaw Frazier, a 100-plus yard pick 6. Can we visualize that for a second?
It's the most dramatic play in football.
The Steelers are driving, they're in the red zone, about to score 7 points to get back in the game, and Frazier steps in front of it at the goal line and runs the entire length of the field.
That is the definition of a 14-point swing.
Yeah.
You take 7 likely points off the board for Pittsburgh and put 7 on the board for Arizona.
Those are backbreakers.
Mentally, for the Steelers, that just destroys the will to fight. You work your way all the way down the field, and in 10 seconds, you're further behind than when you started. That's when a score goes from 30-20 to 60-33.
The source mentions the defense bent but broke the Steelers' rhythm. But there's a hidden stat here that you must love. It's not as flashy as a 100-yard return, but I have a feeling you'll tell me it's more important.
It is absolutely critical. The source notes that the Arizona defense held Pittsburgh to just 1 third-down conversion.
1 in an entire game.
Just 1. That is a suffocating metric.
Why is third down so important?
Third down is the money down. It's do or die. If you convert, you keep the ball, you rest your defense, you wear down the opponent. If you fail, you have to punt. By holding them to 1 conversion, the Arizona defense was getting off the field immediately.
Which means Jack Weber gets the ball back faster?
Exactly. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
Offense scores, defense gets a 3 and out. Offense scores again. The Pittsburgh defense never got a chance to rest because their offense couldn't stay on the field.
And we got to shout out the individuals making those stops. Rookie Braden McKinney leading the team with 7 tackles.
Galen Thompson with 6 tackles and a forced fumble. It shows that the young guys and the vets are all flying around. It was a unit swarming to the ball.
So let's zoom out. We've unpacked the how. But the big question the source asks is about the implications. What does this actually mean for season 84?
Well, first, the record moves to 4-4. They're at .50.
See, normally 4-4 feels average, mediocre.
Yeah.
But the source calls this a statement win. Why does this 4-4 feel different?
It's all about trajectory. Context is king. If you're 4-4 because you started 4-0 and then lost 4 straight, the sky is falling.
You're collapsing.
But if you're 4-4 because you just won a game 6-4-33, that feels like you're a rocket ship taking off.
It's the momentum.
Exactly. The source says they're ready to make a second-half push. Momentum is a very real thing in an NFL locker room. When you look around and realize, hey, we could score 60 points, you play with a different swagger.
And they're going to need that swagger because looking ahead, the next matchup is a beast, the Baltimore Ravens.
That is a massive test, a stark contrast in styles. Baltimore is historically tough, physical, disciplined.
So the question becomes, is this transferable?
Right. Can you carry this high-flying 500-yard offensive production against a defense like Baltimore's? Can you force turnovers against a well-coached team?
It's one thing to do it against a struggling Steelers team. It's another to do it against a contender.
It is. But coming off a 64-33 win, you have to imagine that locker room believes they can beat anyone.
Oh, absolutely.
And connecting it back to season 84, every team looks for an identity. For 7 weeks, maybe Arizona didn't know who they were. Now they know. They are the team that can drop 64. They're the team with the untouchable receiver.
It changes the scouting report for the rest of the league. Now Baltimore's defensive coordinator is losing sleep-watching tape of Zaw Frazier running 100 yards.
And they're looking at that 0 sack stat and wondering, how are we going to get to the quarterback? It puts fear into an opponent.
So to wrap this up, what's the main takeaway? We've thrown a lot of numbers out there. What's the one thing people need to lock in on from this?
I think the aha moment is that a 64-33 win isn't luck. You don't stumble into 64 points. It's the result of a symbiotic relationship. It's a QB playing at a career-best level, a superstar WR dominating, and a defense that scores its own points.
It's total team football peaking at the exact right moment, the perfect storm.
It is. And I'll leave you with this thought. The source mentioned Weber bounced back. If this performance, this 149.3 rating, 5-touchdown performance, if that's Jack Weber's new baseline, is a 4-4 record misleading. Could this team actually be a sleeping giant that just woke up for the second half of season 84?
That is the question I'll be thinking about all week. If they play half this well against Baltimore, the rest of the league better watch out.
It's going to be a fun second half of the season to watch.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we have for this deep dive. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.